Hello, my name is Danny Crumno, and I have been a metal detector for many years. And it's icy out right now and wet. I can't metal detect, so I decided to do a film or video here for all the newcomers. Now, metal detecting is becoming a dying art. Less and less people are using uh, change and coins for currency, but there is still a extraordinary amount of coins out there to be found, and I'm talking about old coins. And this video is not going to show you a bunch of fancy pictures or nothing like that, but I'm always asked, where do you go to find these things? Well, I live in a small town here, and it doesn't matter where you live, you pretty much have the same options. To me, old houses are always the best. And, you need to date these houses, because if they're not older than at least 1982, you're not going to find nothing but modern change, and that's just pretty much it. But if you go back to at least 1964, you have the chance of finding silver coins. So I was born before 1964, so I'm 65 years old. So that puts you uh, into perspective there. And I'm trying not to give my birth date out because I don't want that over the internet. But anyhow, the silver coins, the old wheat pennies and things like that are still out there waiting to be found. And the purpose of this film is, where do you go to find them? Well, here's the big secret. Back when I was younger, there was no such thing as air conditioning in houses. Uh, a few people had water coolers, and I think when I was in high school, we had water coolers in the house, but there wasn't no air conditioners. So, in order to escape the heat, people look for shade. Well, any old house with a big tree in it is a prime spot, because people were looking for shade. They sat under the big trees. So that's another thing. You see an old house, got a bunch of big trees, you definitely want to hunt underneath those big trees. The other thing is that coins don't sink in the ground. Yeah, as the years go on, they get deeper, but that's from the leaves falling, creating topsoil, and topsoil is created over the top of them. Well, underneath the big trees, you don't have this happening like out in the open fields. So the coins will actually be shallower underneath the trees. So the number one spot is an old house that the yard is pretty clean and it's got big trees in it. That's where you want to go. Any old house, I like to anything prior to 62. And it's pretty much got to be cleaned. If it's got a bunch of crushed cans and stuff in there, that's not going to work very good. Old churches. If you can get access to an old church, go. Because years ago, they had a lot of gatherings at old churches. And I'm not just talking about going to church. They had picnics there. Remember, most of the funerals were held at old churches. The kids played, and coins were lost. So that is a good place to go. And it's illegal to hunt cemeteries, but I'll tell you right now, cemeteries where they park the cars, which is usually outside the gates, that's a good spot. People were dressed up in their normal Sunday clothes or whatever and going to funerals and such. They parked their cars there and lost coins. I always like to go to places like that. Now, I wouldn't go inside a cemetery. That is illegal. But where they park the cars is a very good spot. The other thing is that years ago, almost nobody had washers and dryers. So they washed their clothes. Where did they hang them? They hung them on wash lines outside. And that's another good place you need to look at. The wash lines, when they hung their clothes up and the wind hit them, it would flop, and that's where the coins would fall. I've always found coins under the wash lines. Now, I've always heard, look at the wells or the outhouses and all that. Yeah, I've had a little luck on the way to the outhouse or well, but not nearly like the big trees and the wash lines. The other places that you might look is old rodeo arenas, parking lots. I have a place, thanks to a guy that years and many years ago, back in the 40s, they used to hold fairs, and I found quite a few good coins in this spot, and I am itching to get back out there as soon as it's dry. I did get a new metal detector. I've got a XP Deus 2, and is it more powerful than the ones I had? No, it's not more powerful, but it has better electronics in it. So I am going over all the places that I have hunted, and I've hunted with all the detectors, the E-Trax, the V3Is, VX3, all the good detectors. My first place I hunted with the XP, I found 4 coins that I added to my collection, and I've not even finished it. And it's not because it's more powerful, it is because this machine is so much quicker with its response. It's finding coins that are next to iron nails and things like that. So this XP has opened up a lot of places that I've had permission for, and I can go back to them, and it's finding coins that are next to iron. It's finding coins on end that I have missed with the other detectors. So, even if you are a experienced metal detector, you need to go back to some of your old places. Some of the places that, like right now in this area, we've had no rain for a while. The lakes are really dry, which means that the swimming areas are not underwater. Those are excellent places. Now you do have to change up your settings. Most of my settings wouldn't work at a swimming place, because swimming places, I'm looking for rings and coins and stuff like that. The way I set my machine up, I won't find rings, because when I go to my old houses, I don't want to find them pull tabs. So, recap that. Big trees, number 1. I don't care if it's out in the middle of a field. Always hit your big trees. Wash lines. Of course, you can see the sidewalks. Look for the crepe myrtle trees. Most of the older folks like to line their driveway with crepe myrtles. Are there walkways? Look next to those. Of course, the porches and the stuff like that, that's great. And I'm going to give you one tip here that I probably not shouldn't give away my secret. But in a lot of big towns that have, I don't know what you call them, but they're ordinances, and what happens is if you've got an old dilapidated house, the city will come in and demolish that house. And at that time, they will start taking over the mowing of the house. Well, there's an app out there. Well, there's several of them, hunting apps. I use OwnX Hunt. It will tell you which one of these lots in the big cities that have reverted to the ownership of the city. And most cities, there's nothing there. I mean, it's just a vacant lot where somebody has demolished a house. And you can usually go in there and metal detect and find good coins, because like if it was an old house and sad repair, it was probably real old, and the owners didn't pay the taxes, the city wound up on it. These apps on your phone will tell you which one of those lots belong to the city, and you might use that, because I found some really good coins doing that. So know that metal detecting, you can't expect to be a newcomer and go out there and burn up the world and find these old coins, because you got to spend a lot of time behind the metal detector, otherwise you get discouraged real soon. You dig up 100 of these pop tops or old lead sinkers and all that, and you get tired of doing it and say, I'm not going to find anything. Well, these new detectors will let you cut all that junk out, and if you get really good and listen to them, you can actually tell the difference between a pop top and say a ring because of the shape and the way it sounds. So just a few hints is what I do with my metal detecting. I hope this helps somebody, and good hunting.